Live from the internet, this is the Crystal Chronicles, your Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia podcast. Tonight is episode 74, recorded this October 24th, 2019. I am your host, and I am joined by my very sober co-host. His name is Mino Spellgood. How are you doing, Mino?
Hey, Mark. I'm in a fucking mood today because this whole sobriety thing. This is I don't know. I guess you stop drinking and you become more aware of your surroundings and situation, and it's horrible. Uh, let's see. How long has it been? How many days has it been since Friday?
It's been a week. 7.
Not quite a week, 6 days.
6.5.
Still a really long time,
Very
right?
long time. Well, I'm
Uh,
making up for you tonight, and I'm having a drink on your behalf, or a few. I've already polished off a few shots of whiskey, or scotch.
yeah. So I apologize in advance. I'm in a pretty rotten mood. This will probably reflect on the podcast.
Super duper. Well, I'm also joined by my good friend and yours. His name is Kreese, a.k.a. Zerink. How you doing,
Good
Kreese?
evening. I'm a little tired tonight.
Ooh, sleepy. Well, I want to thank a few folks who just subscribed to our Twitch, and that would be Shara and Strafe and Jake for 3-month subscriptions. Thank you all. You get a special little badge for 3 months. You're very welcome. Thank you, Jin Lee, for making those badges for us. Hey, if you're listening on your podcast, on the YouTube, if you're listening to the video on demand on the Twitch, feel free to give us a subscribe, a follow, some biddies, whatever you like to do. We appreciate all the help we can get here at the TCC Podcast. You want to find out more about us? TCCpodcast.com is the place where you can go. That is the Crystal Chronicles, TCCpodcast.com, at FFFTCCFFF, at FFFFF, at FFTCCpodcast. No, just at FFTCC Podcast on Twitter. Anyway, go to the website, TCC Podcast. You'll get hooked up with everything you need. But let's talk about the Dissidia Final Fantasy. That's why we're here tonight. So, news of the day. Finally, we had some maintenance, and that maintenance removed Facebook integration. Sorry, folks, Facebook integration is no more. We asked you last week to make sure your game was backed up via the whatever Game Center or whatever the Google Play version is. So make sure you have that link to Apple or Google. But that's the sad part. We did get 300 gems for that, and we also got 100 gems for the maintenance going a little bit longer. So, woohoo! To get the 300 gems, you do need to back up your game, though. Yes. Yes, Kreese?
No, that's what I was going to say, is just to make sure that everyone understands. You get the 300 gems for backing up your game. So make sure you do that.
They are a mission. So you back up your game, and you get that mission reward of 300 gems. If you have already backed up your game to Game Center or the Google equivalent, then you get those 300 gems already.
5DPC is asking if anyone knows the reason behind the Facebook change. My understanding is that this is a large change going out to a lot of services that have Facebook integration. Something's changed. I don't know all the logic and politics behind it, but something is changing that's causing services to withdraw their Facebook integration en masse.
Very good.
It's on Facebook's end. They're withdrawing it from all games everywhere. So
Interesting. Inglorious, thank you for the subscription with Twitch Prime. Now, there was also a fix to the iOS screen. Now, it was nothing I ever encountered. I know Inkwelder was talking about it. Did you guys ever encounter this issue with the iOS screen? Fire from Daylight, thank you for the Twitch Prime.
Yeah, it was driving me fucking crazy. So if you had the newest update, the newest iOS update, it which I think was forced on. I should turn that off. But I know, like, I think if you leave it overnight plugged in, it'll automatically update for you.
Correct.
So whenever you switched out of the app or put your phone to sleep and reopened again, it would zoom in so that you couldn't access the menu on the side. You couldn't go back. You couldn't do anything. It was
Interesting.
such a pain. So it was practically unplayable for a lot of people. So I know it was big news for a lot of us in Discord when it finally got fixed, because wow, like every time I wanted to take a break from the game, I'd have to force close it and open it back up again.
Interesting. Well, I did not encounter it, and I was upgraded to iOS 13, but thankfully it's fixed now. So if you were having that problem, you no longer have it. So praise be to the devs for that. We also got a new Chocoboard. That would be the Autumn 2 is now available. So make sure you're checking in on what you need to do to get your Chocoboard rewards. Late October Chocoboards are still open as well, and that will go to the end of the month. We also, of course, we didn't think it would be an issue, but it was not. We also got all community rewards for the raid, the Blackened Will raid. So we defeated Blackened Will 50 times. I believe we've defeated it 55 times total, or maybe more now. So we did get all the rewards for beating it 50 times, and we did unlock all of the things that are going to be talked about here in a second. But yes, so thank you all of you who were grinding away those co-ops, even those Cosmos hard co-ops. We did complete the missions, and make sure that you go to the raid mission tab. Remember, if you go to your missions tab, there's a green mission, and then underneath it in the background, a red raid. Click on that. Make sure you get all your rewards. Tons of great stuff. Lots of good stuff. And yes, we can be done with the raid until the next raid in a month and a half. So for now, unless you're trying to get some more artifacts, we are done with the raid.
You might also have to grind if you're not done collecting the individual rewards you want. Remember that you need 2 million HP damage done to the raid boss in order to collect everything except for the armor tokens. And then it's another 2 million to get all the armor tokens if you want them.
Hopefully you have gotten at least 2 million points, but if you want to continue to grind for those 2 million or that 4 million, yes, you can still do that for a little bit. I'm not sure how many days do we have left on that.
I think we have until Sunday night. I'm not 100% certain.
All right, so make sure you're checking in and getting all those rewards, because the rewards up to 2 million were very, very good. Well, I believe that brings us to the first topic of the night, which is Act 2, Chapter 5.8, Torsions to the End. Now, this may be a stupid question from me, and I am the host, so I get to ask stupid questions. Why is it 5.8? Any ideas?
I'm going to go with the Kingdom Hearts answer, that they just really like the number 0.8, because if I know Birth by Sleep had a little epilogue in one of the 3D remaster games called Birth by Sleep 2.8. No, or 0. I don't remember. There's a lot of 0.8s in Kingdom Hearts. I'm willing to bet at least 2 if you look up the titles.
Interesting.
I think it has to just do with Japan liking weird numbers. I don't know.
I don't know either. If you, good listeners, have any official word, or hey, if Square Enix Joshua or Square Enix Clacy are listening, Clacy, I hope you're okay. I was a little concerned about Rachel stepping in for you. She did a great job, but I just want to make sure you're okay.
Oh, thank you. People in chat are saying Kingdom Hearts 2.8 was the collection. With that did add the Birth by Sleep prologue, right, guys?
No, that was a separate thing.
No, that was in the 2.8 collection, right? It doesn't matter.
It was not. It was in a separate collection that came with Dream Drop Distance HD.
What was that called?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't remember either, and I don't think it probably matters. But we did get this little add-on to our chapter, Torsions to the End, and we talked about it a little bit last week. And so these had individual stages unlocked every time we beat a certain number of bosses or Blackened Wills in the raid event. And every stage was a fight with mannequins, and that unlocked a special mannequin weapon. So now all the stages, all 17 stages, are unlocked. You can get all 16 mannequin weapons, and you can fight the last boss. Now, something I learned, which I probably should have known, but I didn't, you need to collect all those weapons if you want to unlock hard mode. And if you've not been collecting the weapons because you don't want them just to take up inventory space like me, you were not able to unlock hard mode. And maybe you didn't know there's a hard mode because it didn't automatically tell you that there's a hard mode. So you have to collect all the stuff. And I'm sure this is true in chapters and lost chapters. You have to collect all the treasure chests, and then hard mode is unlocked. And of course you want to unlock hard mode because that gives you more gems and more stuff and more access to. Although I don't think there are no immediate rewards for the hard mode version. There are no limited time rewards. Is that correct? For beating the hard mode? It's just permanent rewards. It's a permanent 1,000 crystals for beating hard mode. There's no time limited rewards.
No, there are no time limited rewards.
So you don't have to collect those chests, and you can just wait on hard mode when you are desperate for gems and have a couple thousand gems there for you. So, yeah.
Kreese, did you have anything to add to that?
Yes, because the chat is harassing me so hard. I need to correct myself. I was mistaken. So Kingdom Hearts 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue is a special collection that has Dream Drop Distance HD and Kingdom Hearts .2 Birth by Sleep, a fragmentary passage, and also cutscenes from the mobile game Kingdom Hearts back cover. So that is the package I was thinking of. It does not have Kingdom Hearts 1 or 2 or the HD remakes in it or any of the other games. But it does have those ones in it.
Yeah. So I was referring to that like 0.2. I guess I thought it was 0.8 or something because that would make sense in the package of 2.8. But the point is TLDR, Mina was right, Kreese was wrong. Thank you guys. That's the
And what were we talking about before, Mark? Sorry.
Anything about 5.8 that you wanted to talk about besides why it's named 5.8? So did you collect your Manikin Weapons? Have you done anything with your Manikin Weapons? Did you want to talk about any of those fights in that particular event?
My assumption for why it's called 5.8, not specifically 5.8, but not having a new story chapter name, is because it's technically the continuation of Chapter 5. It is actually defeating Kefka and finishing off Black and Will, so it makes sense for them to include it in the Chapter 5 story arc, kind of. Well, it's still its own separate thing because it's tied to the raid. The fights on hard, I've only tried a couple of them so far, but the mannequins can be very tanky. Let's put it that way. They can hit hard if you let them get away with it. I was using Warrior of Light for several stages, so they didn't break the shield, but they got close in a couple of places. It's not something you'll be able to just breeze through. You'll have to think about what you're doing.
I will say, so for each of these missions, both normal and hard, you need to bring the one protagonist whose weapon you're getting to fulfill all the missions. So that does cripple you depending on who you're bringing. But I will say, depending on who you're fighting, and just like the characters in our game, some of the characters are much more powerful because they've received level 60, level 70 awakenings, EX weapons. Some of these mannequins are much, much more powerful and much more dangerous than other ones. So, for example, Terra mannequin can be fairly dangerous, whereas Preach mannequin, don't worry about. So you will see some of the fights are fairly easy compared to other ones. The more powerful the characters, the more powerful the mannequins.
I have not had a chance to try out the fight yet, but I know there were rumblings that the final fight against Kefka is very tough. Can be very tough if you're not careful.
Yeah, so
he can use his EX ability. He can use weapon passive up versions of his two abilities. He has his own unique ability he doesn't have as a character that when you use him that he can use as well. That I think is an AoE HP attack. So he can do a lot of damage. He can inflict a lot of debuffs if you're.
So that final fight with Kefka and two mannequins is fairly challenging. The one thing that you need to look out for is Kefka can respawn the mannequins. I think he respawns them depending on his health, and he can instantly respawn them if they both die. not 100% on that, but I know if you kill both of the mannequins, he will respawn different mannequins. So you may want to just kill them to get some different ones. But I found it best to focus on Kefka. He can be very dangerous because he goes into Havoc Wing, his EX ability, and he can kill a character straight out with that if you're not careful. So yeah, he is not. Yeah, the Terra mannequins are tough, but yeah, he. Yeah, so 5DPZ is saying about how about killing one of the mannequins. I think that's okay. I don't think he automatically respawns them, but in one of the fights, I did it a couple times. In one of the fights, if you kill one of the mannequins, and I think maybe it's a certain amount of his health, he respawns the mannequin that died. So I think he can respawn them even only if one's dead. So I in the fight that I did versus him to beat it, I kept both of the mannequins alive until he died. And I mean, they took damage, but I kept them mostly alive till the end and focused mostly on Kefka. And of course, you can bring something like a Kistis support to just keep Kefka back a while you focus damage on him and just keep the other ones broken, not so that they're not doing crazy HP attacks on you. So again, debuffers really help when you're dealing with the regular mannequins, because then they're less likely to hurt you. And there's a lot of good options. I don't think it's 100 level 120, so it's not Cosmos difficulty. It's not super easy, and like I said, if you're not paying attention, you think you're just going to whip through this. He can be dangerous. So anything else?
I will say that depending on the other stages you're doing, it can be dangerous if you're trying to carry whoever you have to bring, depending on how well they are geared. I am not looking forward to doing the Dark Knight Cecil one because I only have his 15 CP weapon. So I think at least I'm going to wait until he gets his rework in a few weeks.
Yeah, and you certainly could. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of interest. Maybe we'll address this later, but people are asking, they want to know what each of us picked for the EX shop. And in related news, I picked Paladin Cecil's EX weapon to do this mission since I had no other gear for him. So that's a good way to make your decision, guys.
I thought you were going to say which Manikin Weapons did we MLB. I MLB'd Squalls, and I have it equipped on him, even though there's no CP whatsoever. I have not collected my EX weapon from the token shop because Inkwelder told me not to, so I haven't. That's because
I selected my EX weapon because I only had limited choices. I actually have most of the protagonist EXs. The only ones I did not have before the shop unlocked were, let me think for a sec. It was Shantado, Dark Knight Cecil, and one other one, and I can't remember who else. Y'shtola, and I chose Y'shtola.
Oh, that's a good one. And as Mark said, as per Inkwelder of the Tonberry Troop has said, you should probably hold on to your tokens until Chaos to see who you actually need an EX weapon for. So, no rush to cash those in. Oh, and in related news, TCC Podcast is officially at war with the Tonberry Troop. Don't question it. Just go with it.
We are not.
I will point out that while it's an okay to wait on your tokens, remember that they run out at mid-November they burn out, so you have to use them before mid-November. Just watch the exchange program. Make sure you pick out a weapon before it goes away.
We are not at war with the Tonberry Troop. We have much love and respect for our friends at the Tonberry Troop. I will say...
Oh, we're losing the war of the upvotes. They're the only ones that post to Reddit anymore.
That's right.
Oh, man. I forgot about that. Technically, I guess we're not at war with the Tonberry Troop. We're at war with Inkwelder, Teleute, Dreamy, and Vayne Novus.
That's the Tonberry Troop. Now, listen, I believe Inkwelder did not mean for you to hold on to your EX tokens until Chaos, but until the Square Enix mobile stream, potentially next Monday. So you can wait and see what's going to be launching because they'll give us the calendar and you can choose accordingly. Maybe they'll share something that is unexpected. And so you can hold your tokens for that. Most likely I will be using Y'shtola, as that is one that I don't have as well. I just realized, though, I do not have her 35 CP, so that is more weapon tokens in the regular weapon token shop for me to take.
I will mention that the reason I chose Y'shtola is because I was looking at when Y'shtola's EX next or comes out, and it's going to be around a couple of banners based on the timeline that I'm tempted to pull on. For example, I think it comes close to Agrius Lost Chapter, and I'm definitely pulling on that because I want Ferris's EX plus. So it's going to be a tough sell for me to pull on for Y'shtola at the time, but she is a very strong EX plus for Chaos.
No
That's pretty much how I made my decision as well. Pestle is his only guaranteed banner coming up is VIII LC, and I just don't see myself pulling for that. And then he's not going to be on any other good ones, so I just said, you know what, screw it. I don't mind pulling on, say, Onion Knight's banner when he comes back, or Bartz's, or anybody else's, but that's a really bad banner for me.
Very good. Well, anything else on Arc 2, Chapter 5.8, Torsions to the End?
Don't feel pressured to get it done right away. If you don't have the space for the Manikin Weapons, don't worry about it. Right now, it'll just be gems that you can say are saved in the bank until you can complete the stages.
Very good. Well, that brings us to Aphmau's event, Royal Puppeteer. And in this event, we get a new character. Her name is Aphmau from Final Fantasy XI, and she is a puppeteer. And we also got Lion Rework and EX, and of course, Preesh was there too for some reason, because she's in Final Fantasy XI. And we got Cosmos and Co-op. So we'll talk about all of that, and I will do so by starting with an overview of Aphmau, our new character. Aphmau is a fist weapon wielding puppeteer, unfortunately without her puppets. Yet, she acts primarily as a support unit who provides buffs and brave batteries. Aphmau comes to us without an EX, but with a level 70 awakening. She is a decent cheap support option since she only needs her 15 and 35 CP weapons to shine. She supplies the party with limited attack and eye brave auras when she is buffed, but ultimately depends on her unique party buffs. Because she relies so much on her brave and HP attacks, she has considerable longevity and found regular play in early chaos in Japan. So I will talk more about that in a second. Now, just to briefly walk through how she plays, Aphmau's S1, Skill 1, Shield Subverter, gives her a framed defensive buff that grants Elude, which is debuff evasion, Brave damage reduction, and defense up. Her Skill 2, 6 Element, gives her a framed offensive buff that grants attack and max brave and speed up. Her skill 1 is melee, brave plus HP, and her skill 2 is magic, a 6-hit magic, brave plus HP attack. Both are limited to only 6 uses. Both S1 and S2 apply a framed buff, automaton, to the party. So her S1 and S2 abilities give her a buff, a unique buff each, but give the party this unique buff, frame buff, automaton. Automaton grants brave regen equal to that character's eye brave, 100% of their eye brave. Now, where Aphmau really shines is not necessarily her skills, but is her brave plus and her HP plus. These activate with any buffs on Aphmau. Now, she can give herself a buff and activate her brave and HP plus, or she can give a buff from somebody else. For example, if you're running with Setzer and Setzer uses Freeze Joker, he gives the party Max Brave Up, a generic Max Brave Up buff. If Setzer acts first, then Aphmau's Brave Plus and HP Plus would be active. You do not need to use her skills to unlock Brave Plus or HP Plus. The Brave Plus and HP Plus are activated based on her being buffed, regardless of where the buffs come from. Her Brave Plus is a slight brave battery to the party and grants her defensive buffs to her allies as a frame buff. Her HP Plus grants her offensive buffs to her allies as a different frame buff. So both Brave Plus and HP Plus also extend the life of Automaton buff by 1 turn. And she does have an additional ability in AA which extends her buffs and grants I Brave up. So when it comes to actually playing Aphmau, and there's been a lot of, I've seen things on Reddit and things on Discord and things on Facebook. How do I play Aphmau? Which buttons do I press when? I think Aphmau takes a little bit more nuance than do this, then that, do this, then that. For example, if you're in her co-op, which is a fairly easy fight, using skill 1, the defensive skill, and Brave Plus is really not particularly necessary as the fight's fairly quick. So in that case, if Aphmau goes first, she can use skill 2, which gives her offensive buff, and her next turn she can use HP Plus, which gives the party the offensive buffs. And from there, just attend to those party buffs. If someone like Setzer is in the party and goes first and gives the party that Max Brave buff, and therefore gives her a buff, she can go right into her HP Plus and use that Brave that she got from Freeze Joker and give the party those buffs. Then she can use her skill 2 on her second turn. Now, if you are facing a boss with debuffs, a Marlboro or some boss like the Lena Dragon that has a lot of debuffs early on, you're probably going to want to use her defensive buffs quickly and make sure that Brave Plus and her skill 1 are both active. So she has Elude, which is the one that ignores debuffs, and the party has Elude. Now, if you're in a...
Mark,
yes, go ahead.
We have a quick request from chat for you to say the unique buffs out loud.
No,
because,
I'm not going to at all.
No, come on.
One is defensive and one is offensive. That's all you need to know.
Oh,
their names are not important. You're more than welcome to say their names.
Don't be a party pooper, Mark. This is what the people want.
I didn't even write down what their names are because that's how unimportant it is.
Oh, I'll paste it to you in Discord right now. I got you.
Mina will not say it out loud though.
Yeah. She has...
Oh, you want me to? Well, I mean, Mark first. I can go next.
I can take a guess at what they're supposed to be pronounced, but it's weird. It's Mei Ying's wisdom and Ovyang's wisdom.
I can just look up the Japanese pronunciation and go off that. Hang on.
Fine-tuning,
but here are
fine-tuning and optimization. Those are the frame buffs.
No! Hold on. Okay, we got it right here. Hold on. No, this is taking me too long. Continue, and then we'll do it at the end.
So, if you are in a longer battle and you want extra firepower to kill mobs, maybe you want to start with skill 2 and then do HP Plus to give your party that extra boost. You may also just want to wait to use your skill 1 in this scenario and rely on Brave Plus, HP Plus, because they're both going to be active throughout the early fight until you get into the last wave and want to conserve those limited skill uses that she does have, because that's the majority of her damage is coming through skills, but the buff generation is coming from HP and Brave Plus. Really, when you're playing Aphmau, you want to attend to your buffs and reapply them as needed. So make sure you're looking at her buffs and your party buffs because they are different. Her buffs come from her skills. Her party buffs come from HP and Brave Plus. Also remember, and I say remember because I didn't even know this until looking this up today, Aphmau is a melee and magic character. Her first ability and her Brave Plus, so skill 1 Brave Plus, are melee. Her second ability, skill 2, and HP Plus are magic. So bosses who resist either melee or magic could be a problem if you are relying on her for some damage. But I would say this is much less of an issue for melee-resistant bosses than magic-resistant bosses because most of the damage from her melee attack is coming from battery and not from the 6 hits that the magic attack is coming from. And, of course, her HP attack is magic as well. Now, when it comes to team composition, Aphmau doesn't really play well with other support units as she applies 3 frame buffs to the party and 3 frame buffs to herself. Or no, that's not right. Yeah,
2 frame buffs.
2 frame buffs to herself, 3 frame buffs to the party because she does not apply automaton to herself. That being said,
it's automaton, by the way.
Automaton. I don't know what I said. Anyway, that being said, she can work well with other utility characters and even some supports, even if some buffs are falling off. As you build your team with Aphmau, just pay attention to how many buffs each character grants themselves and also grants their allies. For example, Noctis gives himself 2 general buffs, generic buffs, and 1 frame buff, With Aphmau buffs, he would be at 6. So unless there's another party member granting buffs, there's nothing to worry about. Now, Noctis is fast and can generate consecutive turns with his plus abilities and his AA, so he may be in danger of losing Aphmau's buffs, and many fast characters and turn-stealing characters could do the same thing. And so that's why aura characters might be preferred over a support character like Ramza or Aphmau, who does also have auras, as we talked about earlier. Now, Cloud is a character, of course, on everybody's mind because he's about to get a rework and the first EX+. He grants himself 3 generic buffs with his skill 2 and 1 frame buff with his EX and with his EX+. His first generic buff, however, is Max Brave up 1, which is not as exciting as it used to be. So with Aphmau's buffs, unless you leave off the defensive buff and just use offensive buffs, which is an option, he'd only lose his Max Brave buff, which isn't really a huge deal. Now,
I'm pretty sure it goes to Max Brave up 2 if you have his 35 CP and his Awakening extension passive.
Yeah, but that's the one you're going to lose if you lose it. So you will be getting Max Brave with her buffs. You're going to be losing his generic Max Brave and still get his critical and his physical attack up. Now, Warrior of Light is another example in Cosmos and Chaos. He's very, very good. But he grants himself 2 frame buffs and 2 generic buffs. One of his generic buffs is Elude 3. Now, Warrior of Light grants the party 1 frame buff, so that's not going to be an issue with Aphmau. But with all of his buffs active, he's most likely to lose his Int Brave buff, which is really less than ideal because you want him to have that Int Brave buff. And he'd be stuck with 2 Elude buffs, which isn't doing anybody any good, I don't think. Maybe there's situations where it would be. So if you had Wold, Noctis, and Aphmau on a team, Noctis would lose his M Brave buff, and that is a big deal for him. So you just want to pay attention to who you're bringing and what they do. Now, I think she works best with those selfish damage dealers that may have 1 or 2 frame buffs, but really not a lot of other things going, and certainly nothing to add on to other characters. Very similar to Ramza, who's giving those buffs to the party and to himself as well. But I do believe, looking ahead at Chaos and seeing teams that were actually used in Chaos, you can make her work with a variety of team comps moving forward. So I saw, just looking at some of the early Chaos runs on YouTube from the Japanese side of the game, Aphmau work with Cloud, Warrior of Light, Fang, Agrias, Ace, Squall, and even characters like Lilizette and Ferris. Lilizette gets her EX+. I actually did see a couple pairings in Chaos with Aphmau and Sherlotta, which you wouldn't think was a great combination, but some people made it work. And even an Aphmau and Ramza pairing, which is an interesting thing. I actually played around with them. But you just have to be really careful of your buff management and make sure that you know what's being cleared and when it's being cleared and how that works. Actually, looking at early Chaos clears, I did see an Ultimecia event clear with Aphmau, Ultimecia no EX, and Squall EX+. As an aside note to early EX or early Chaos era, I did not see her ever paired with Garland EX+ or Tidus EX+. That doesn't mean she couldn't be. I just didn't see that in the gameplay. For artifacts, there's a couple more things. For artifacts, Aphmau prefers Max Brave 330 and her C50 passive, which is Royal Puppeteer 2-star, which gives her additional buffs when she is buffed, Max Brave and attack up. Moving forward into her EX+, attack is actually a good option. Attack 108 for her. And that's going to be kind of moving forward. But for right now, because of her battery based on her Max Brave, and because the Royal Puppeteer does increase her Max Brave and her attack, those are probably your ideal arts. But any mixture of Max Brave attack and Royal Puppeteer is probably going to be okay. You might even mix in I Brave as well, but probably kind of lower on the list.
I would argue that if you're planning to bring Aphmau to Chaos in the future, you're probably going to want some attack artifacts because she doesn't have her EX weapon. She's not going to have EX+. She's going to need all the attacks she can get to do any damage. Without that, she's just going to be a battery and a buffer, which means you probably have better options at that point after the first few EX pluses are available.
Yeah, Royal Puppeteer 2-star does increase her attack and Max Brave, so that does help her. And she does give herself a lot of buffs, obviously, as well. But yeah, I think moving with attack 1 away, even right now, is probably not a terrible idea.
This goes back to the discussion we've had before about percentage increases versus flat increases on artifacts and the value of one over the other. Typically, the difference is minuscule, but depending on how you're stacking your party, what buff auras you're bringing, what buffs you're bringing, flat values tend to be better because all percentage increases are additive with each other.
Just a closing thought on Aphmau before I let you guys talk about her more. Aphmau brings party auras, as I did talk about earlier. Those come with her C58 passive and C68 passive. So if you want to use her, especially in Chaos, you probably want her at 70-70 or at least 68-70. But I will say, just in closing, all in all, I think Aphmau is a pretty unique party buffer with some longevity as an EX-less character. Now, in Japan, she did get her EX Plus, and she actually gets her puppets on her LC, so that's kind of cool. I always like those characters who have additional characters with them, so look forward to that. As we move into Heretics, Abyss, Far Ends of Dimension, Aphmau is a solid support option and a fist user, so I think she will help fill some of those roles moving forward. So that's my take on Aphmau. Yeah.
Holy crap, that was thorough, Mark. That was impressive. That's good luck following that, Chris.
I'm just going to comment and say that Aphmau is a little more complicated than she necessarily had to be. They could have made her much simpler and she would have worked just fine. Instead, they have this whole thing where she gives herself her own unique buffs, but she gives the party equal buffs that are different with shorter durations, and that causes all sorts of problems, which Mark already touched on. If you use fast characters, the buffs are going to be pushed off. If you use characters with a lot of generic buffs, the buffs are going to be pushed off. You cannot pair her with another support because the buffs will be pushed off. She has a lot of quirks for her kit, but I experimented with her a little bit myself, and I found her very strong. She makes characters hit so much harder. For example, I grinded Ifrit summon boards with her, and she makes Vanille actually not hit like a wet noodle, which is very impressive.
C-Sam, you're saying iBrave for regen. The iBrave would only help her, and she does not give herself. Does she give herself Brave regen?
Yes, she does.
She does give herself Brave regen. So that would help her Brave regen. It doesn't help the whatever that word is. I can't say that. Automaton. I can't say that word.
Automaton.
Automaton. Automatron.
Speaking of which, chat's demanding you say those unique buff names, by the way. Here, just for clarification, to weave this in organically, help me out. I've done zero research on Aphmau. Which one is the offensive buff and which one is the defensive buff? Because I guess when you're like clicking... Oh, okay.
Shield Subverter is her skill 1. That grants her the unique ability Manjing's Tactics. And the allies, the automaton buff.
Now, it's tactics? Okay, I think I'm going by the unofficial translations of Wisdom.
6th element, her skill 2, gives Ove Jang's Tactics. So we got Ming Jing and Ove Jang. I don't know who those guys are. Those are the puppets, right? Those are the
No, I thought the puppets were the party members. That's why she's buffing them, right?
Well, yeah, but are those the names of the puppets? She has 2 puppets. Yeah, those are the names
I was
of the
making
puppets.
I guess that joke did not land.
I didn't play Final Fantasy XI, so the jokes don't work. Now, the buffs she gives the party are not called that. They're called fine-tuning and optimization.
Fine-tuning is the defensive one. Optimization is the offensive one.
Yes. Yes, Square Enix Joshua, her allies are the puppets until she gets her EX and she has her puppets. Then who's the puppets? Is it us? Are we the puppets? Yes, the automaton buff.
All right, so but for those curious, it looks like based on Japanese pronunciation, it's Manejing and Ovjing. So, yeah. Close enough.
I had those things for breakfast, so good job. I don't know what that means.
All right. Kreese, I believe you're following up with Lion.
I thought you were doing Lion since you have a EX.
I'm doing Lion?
That's what I thought. I mean, I can give an overview if you want, but I didn't prepare for it.
Oh, fuck. Let me open this beer.
EX.
Give me 5 seconds. I mean, I do presentations out of my ass for work all the time. Let's see how this goes. Hang on. 5 seconds.
If you want, I can do it. I can break down Lion's kit, and you can give the input.
Nope, too late. We're doing it. All right. So, let me pad this with some filler while I work out a plan. So I think when Lion first released, I don't remember if I was on the podcast and if I reviewed her at the time, but all these MMO FF11 characters always pay very close tribute to their source game, and I love it, right? And I guess Lion, being the thief of FF11, very basic mechanic, which is she deals extra damage when the target's not facing her, just like sneak attack in MMOs, as Kreese knows, he plays WoW. Backstabs do more damage. Was she the very first person to get this passive, by the way?
The sneak attack passive?
Yeah.
Does Ferris have it?
Does she?
I don't know. I'm just
Either
asking.
Either way, she for sure made it popular first, right? Unless the anchor game. Man, this game's been out almost 2 years for us. I guess the history's getting kind of long. Either way, her big gimmick was when she wasn't being targeted, she did massive damage. But the problem is that's useless against people that were spamming AoEs, and I think bosses started doing more and more AoEs or self-buffing as time went on. So what they did to fix Lion was actually very clever and still adhering to FF11, which is in FF11, thieves had an ability that would guarantee the backstab. I think WoW has that too, right, Kreese?
I don't play Rogue, so I can't answer that.
Oh, that's fair. So they integrated it into DFFOO, where now, upon sneak attack proc, you basically get a sneak attack plus and a barrel keg. Is that the powder keg, guys? Okay, powder keg plus. So it's similar to, say, Noctis and Locke, who we've been using a lot recently, where one ability will set up the plus versions of each moves, and the plus versions ignore the requirement. They do give the weak bonus that she would have otherwise got from a sneak attack, and they have extra damage and brave overflow as well. So, and for sneak attack, the 20% attack buff as well. So now she's a lot more flexible, because all you need is ideally a sneak attack to set it up, and she's much more self-sufficient because of that, and it's not as reliant on enemy behavior now. She can do it. She can set it up on her own and do massive amounts of single target damage. So now that we're getting her kit back into focus, I think that when she came out, Powder Keg was always an amazing ability because it did lots of damage. It debuffed the enemy greatly. It buffed herself greatly. Now you can set it up all the time. They added splash damage to that as well, 50% for an AoE option. And sneak attack is huge overflow, huge single target, biggest bang for your buck when you're hitting just a single boss. Recommendation wise, it's always hard to recommend what it is, because I know there was this argument on Discord whether characters like this, do you want the attack buff first or the max brave buff first? Because powder give
you want the max brave buff first, unless Lion is being targeted by everything, and then you need to go for sneak attack. That's my opinion and what I've seen so far.
It's so controversial because I was experimenting with it, and I know this came up with Shantoto, and a lot of people were talking about it, but from what I've heard is people saying the attack buff is more valuable unless you're somehow capping on the attack that gives you the max brave buff. And I have to admit, I have yet to use Lion outside of Synergy, so I'm not sure how easily she caps on her own. But I will say that I think Lion should always open with Powder Keg regardless, because one, sneak attack only gives you the attack buff when she's not being targeted, which isn't a guarantee on turn 1. And 2 is not only does it buff her, but it massively debuffs the enemy, so you're setting up the rest of your allies, right? Lion's a very quick character. Chances are she's going to go first or second, at least.
The other point to make is that by using Powder Keg first, she gets her max Brave up buff before the attacks happen, so her passives kick in, which is important if she's going first in combat, which she almost always will be. She's really fast.
Right. So I do think Powder Keg is the better first move in general, but on a fringe case that she's not being targeted on turn 1, sneak attack to get the attack buff is not a bad move to make. So she's gained the hide or the ability pluses on demand now, which make her much more viable. She's also gained an EX that drastically buffs her attack and max brave, and more importantly, it has a fancy new gimmick, again true to FF11. So I think we've seen it in Prish already, who does it solo, but in FF11 there's these things.
One other character has a mechanic like this is Prompto with his Brave Plus and HP. Plus.
You're right. Thank you for that.
This is a much bigger kicker, though. It really powers up her EX when she triggers it.
Is it Holy Element as well? Please say it is, as a tribute to the. Actually,
it is Holy Element.
Ooh, that's a good and a bad thing, I guess, depending on the enemy. But so in FF11, when you use your special abilities in sequence, there'll be these little elemental bursts at the end for extra damage. So how they incorporate in the game, and I love this, is that if an ally had a turn right before Lion, she gets the plus version of her EX, which triggers an extra Brave plus HP after her initial EX. It's also worth noting that Lion's EX ability is an AoE perfect cleanse. Perfect dispel, to all the enemies. So AoE dispel across the board, which really adds to her utility. She's already got the debuffs, the burst single target damage, and now if you ever need an alternate dispeller, she is a very good option, because we only have, I think, still 4 or 5 tops, and I think someone posted only 2 of those people are AoE dispellers. I think that's Vanille, and I want to say Ferris.
Yes. And Balthier can steal 1 buff from each target.
Right, but it's not like a perfect dispel like Ferris.
It is 100% chance.
Oh no, but I'm saying it doesn't wipe out all.
It's
yeah, it doesn't wipe out all their buffs. Ferris and Vanille are your only options for a complete wipe on the enemies, and now Lion, who of course as a DPS main does far more DPS compared to the others. So she has that niche that I think should not be overlooked. Her AA.
Someone saying that Balthier can steal 3. He can only steal 3 with a single target attack, which is the difference. If you need AoE Dispel, Balthier will not be as effective as Vanille or Lion or Farah.
And Josh says, if only Shantoto could join in and the Magic Burst after her. Because I believe Prish's abilities are based on Magic Burst as well, right? That's why they have the elements tied to them.
Yeah.
She's just a terrible character
Maybe.
right now. Yeah. But so moving on to Lion's AA, it's a very mixed bag. I was not impressed with it because it's a free Brave plus HP attack that gives her the same 20% attack buff as her sneak attack if you bloom it. So it's a lot of investment just to get the same potency. If you don't bloom it, it's only 10%, and her sneak attack is superior. You don't really need it. But as people have pointed out, if you need a buff right away to activate her passives, because she gets a huge attack and max brave boost as long as she has a buff on her, that's an automatic free turn. If she's turn 1, boom, she's got her buff guaranteed, even if you're being targeted, unlike sneak attack, where again you only get the buff when you hit an enemy not targeting you. And even better is if you ever need to set up that EX plus, which triggers only if you had an ally turn go right before her, she could, if somehow she manages to be the only person to act between enemy turns, she could AA and then get her EX plus for that AoE cleanse and extra damage. So it does have its uses. I personally, as a huge Lion fan, that was actually ready to pity her for terrible reasons. I'm not sure if I would throw a Bloomstone at it. But if you're very dedicated to Lion, I think that's worth considering. Other than that, amazing single target damage, great synergy with tanks, and Wall is a big popular choice, even going into Chaos. And then once he starts falling off, you've got Zac as well. You have more tank options in Chaos. The only problems are, I think her longevity isn't great. Her skill use is kind of low. Oh, her EX refreshes skill 1, by the way. Sneak attack gives you an extra use after each one. So that is nice, but she is a cursed artifact character. People are talking about this in chat right now. I think it's very debatable whether how reliant she is on her cursed artifacts and which one is more important. A lot of people are saying she doesn't need charged. What's the skill 2 again, Kreese? Powder keg.
And I would argue she actually needs it because she has so few uses of it.
I agree too.
She really has to conserve without the artifact. Plus, that artifact gives her a max brave boost.
Right, I agree too. A lot of people are saying that's skippable. You get the buffed attack boost instead. It's really people are arguing attack 108 plus the buffed attack boost. Like Kreese said, I think it's very situational. Extra charges on Powder Keg means more debuffs, more AoE, and just more longevity in general. But either way, I think even with perfect artifacts, her longevity is going to suffer. And I don't see her doing really long turn battles because Chaos is going to start being 80 plus turns. I'm not sure if she's up for that. But Inkwelder wanted me to mention that there have been videos of her doing FEOD4 because of her EX doing the AoE dispel and her doing enough damage to keep up. So, hey, she has some use out there, and I'm sure our talented and expansive global player base will find even more uses for her. But it's not someone I would advise going out of your way to pull for unless you really enjoy the character and the playstyle. And I do think it's a cool playstyle. A little straightforward, but as a big FF11 fan, I think I like how they adhere to the Thief playstyle from that game. Any extra thoughts?
From what I've seen so far, just in co-ops, I didn't pull for her because cursed artifacts. But from what I've seen in co-op, she seems like she can be very, very strong. I'll have to see how that carries over to future content where she's not boosted. But she has a lot of answers now that she did not have before. She hits a lot harder than she hit before. She has an easier time setting herself up, which she failed with before. And yeah, she's just a lot better. I just don't think she has the longevity to really make it long unless you really play her safe. And without an HP plus, it will be tough to do that.
Right, and on the front of pure DPS, we always say DPS characters are the first to get power creeped when new toys come along. Again, I think her only saving niche is the AoE dispel on her EX. Mark, any thoughts?
I'm concerned when she uses her EX ability that she's flinging that thing not just at the enemies but at her party as well. It cuts kind of so you can't see it, but I'm pretty sure she's cut Pinello in half 2 or 3 times.
Pinello should learn to duck.
Yeah, well, she's dancing fool, can't help herself. So how many resources did it take you to get Lion EX there, Mino?
I forgot. Tickets. I forgot.
Like 50 tickets,
100?
right? 100 tickets?
100? I guess. I just don't know what to save my tickets for anymore. So Ramu Boars was the first time I ever did all the treasures in one go. I didn't do that for Ifrit, and I'm still missing half the treasures on Shiva. So I got like 500 something tickets, which is the most tickets I've ever had in my life. Usually it was like 40 from an event. And I sank that into the Lock Noctis banner, got both of their full kits in 250, and it's like, well, what do I do with the rest of this 300? I threw it at Realm, got her EX in like 50 tickets, and what do I do with these? I threw it at what's her face, Lion, and I did 100. So now I have 100 something left, and I guess I'm throwing them at Lion. I really don't put any stock in tickets, so I'm not trying to. Yes. What did I say?
You said lion.
That's the same thing, right? Doesn't Leon mean lion?
Yeah,
Leon and lion are two different characters in the game.
They are.
Oh, just like, but aren't
just like
Leon
Realm,
and Squall like the same character?
Realm and Rem, two different characters. You got that mixed up last week.
No, that wasn't me. That was somebody else, right?
You.
That was me? No, okay.
Rem and Realm, two different characters.
Okay, but Leon and Squall are the same character, right?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
Not in Dissidia.
Squall, Leonhart.
No, Leon's going to be the alternate version to Squall, just like Pestle and Dessel. So it's coming.
Yep, that's true.
We already know that's not the case. Leon's already in the client, and we have him in our parties.
CSDXs, and we're back to Kingdom Hearts, I guess.
So, but the most important news is that with your acquisition of Lion EX, you have now officially more EXs than I do. So of the co-hosts, I am the low man on the totem pole. I have the most pitiful amount of EXs. So,
well, you've got like 75k gems on me, and we'll probably pull something better. These are not good banners to pull on. Single EX banners while doubles are around the corner. I don't know.
And Shintado's around the corner.
Yes. All right. Well, we need to talk about the actual event. We did talk about Aphmau and Lion in great detail. There was a co-op. The co-op's fairly straightforward, and you only fight one boss, and it's got a name. I don't know what the name of the boss is. If somebody wants to chime in
here. It dies so fast, it almost doesn't matter.
It doesn't. Yes, it is the shift frame type Broadway Sand. No, BW. I'm not sure what's the BW stand for. Somebody tell me that. Yes, shift frame type BW, and he is a big machine that kind of floats around. I don't think it's from Final Fantasy 11. It looks more like Final Fantasy 13 kind of thing. Weak to various different things depending on whether it is airborne or grounded. I believe it starts airborne. And yeah, it does die pretty fast, but in co-op, so I'm not super concerned about the co-op, which I still need to do a big chunk of. But we did get a level 150 Cosmos, and I was able to beat that with Setzer, Kistis, and Aphmau. So
this is a very easy Cosmos because the boss is weak to lightning, melee, and ranged start, and becomes weak to magic when it lands, which means you're able to do a good amount of damage with just about anyone you bring along. Not to mention it's a single target, so you can bring a Quistis friend and shut it down. I brought a team of Ramza, Vayne, and Lightning, and the boss never took it.
Just to cut in, chat is answering your question, Mark. Final Character 7 says BW stands for Black and Will because this is chapter 5.9 and we're not done with him yet. And
is the Black and
Isn't
Will
it BW?
Is the Black and Will it is BW. Is the Black and Will operating the machine? Is that what we're in
like cyborg Black and Will, like in Dragon Ball, right? After Frieza got cut up, he came back as a cyborg.
Yeah.
And IcePick823 is saying BW stands for big waste of time.
Oh, big waste of time. Good. Thank you, IcePick.
This is definitely one of the easiest Cosmos battles we've had. It reminds me a lot of Lock EX after the Hell Month.
Aminosa beat it with Lion, Ida, and Aphmau, so there you go. I think anybody's viable.
Hey, Ida's strong with her EX now.
I love
Aphmau's not.
Yeah, I love
Aphmau's not like a pushover.
No, those are we're not beating it with Cyan and Zaz and Raijin or Raijin, Fujin, and Cypher, but
you're forgetting about Cater.
Yeah, Cater. So anybody do a Cater clear? Cater's meta, right? Eroli did Sid, Ash, and Porum, so that's down on the that's a little lower on the Cyan, Saz, and Cater.
Where's the call to arms on this? I want to see some wacky ass clears.
That's the call to arms. Well, moving on from Royal Puppeteer to Autumn Festival Part 2. We did get I think we talked about it last week. that, we got the one animated Halloween sticker, and I think maybe Mino said, oh, I really wanted the other one. Well, you got it. So 2 animated Halloween
pretty
stickers.
sure it was Grease, right? Grease, was that you?
I don't know. Either way, we have both
of us were
of them
talking
now.
about it, not just me.
So
Wait, we
have
do?
both of
Oh,
them.
I didn't even check. Holy crap.
The second one is now available to buy, yes, and it is
the
awesome.
candy throwing Mog is available.
Pops up and throws candies.
It's adorable. You should do it. With this, we did not get a new banner. I don't know why folks were thinking we would, because I believe in the stream they said we were not.
It was so fun because so I know that Square Enix Joshua was asked on main court, and he said, "Sorry to disappoint people, but we're not getting a banner for the launch of the Autumn Festival." Paraphrasing. And so a lot of people on our Discord were saying, "Well, he didn't say we're not getting one for part 2, so it must be coming." People are very, very optimistic.
Hey, we like banners. That's okay.
There's also a lot of weird stuff with people expecting VIII rework because Japan got it around this time frame. We are not beholden to Japan's schedule, so there's no reason we had to get it. Plus,
so I'm not crazy, right? So I was having a war with Inkwelder in our Discord because he's Tomberry Troop, I'm TCC, and we were saying I don't know where this rumor is that JP had VIII already, because looking at the timeline, he got it in a special event right before Sherlotta's event. First of all, we still have Leon to go before we hit Sherlotta's event, and secondly, his special event was the basis of what we in GL have as Abyss. That was invented to accompany Vaughn's rework. So, I mean, I don't think it's out of the question that they do the stream at the end of the month, say the 28th. They patch it in, and usually we always get an Abyss update per patch, right? And
not necessarily, but we usually get something close to
right.
that.
So I'm saying, like, in the next Abyss update, again, the whole thing based on what launched VIII's rework in Japan, we'll get that in the next big update, and VIII's rework will be on the banner. I mean, I think that's normal. I think that's very following the pattern. I don't see what's wrong with that. Inkwelder's like, well, we didn't get a rework with the last Abyss. Yeah, we're not getting early reworks anymore, but this is on time for VIII. So I want it on the record that I am calling VIII's rework when the next patch hits and we get that Abyss upgrade. And if I am right, everybody flood those infographic threads with I don't know, graffiti, slander. Like, this is a war, okay? Take no prisoners.
Well, this is not a war.
I'm just going to comment that I think
it's not very true. Yes, go ahead, Chris.
I'm just going to comment that while VIII's rework is strong, it really is lacking something at the point we are at in the game compared to what characters are getting, and it will feel like it's lacking something until it gets his EX+. So don't feel like it's going to pull him off the bench and you're all of a sudden going to be using him because Chaos is right around the corner, and as soon as Chaos arrives, he's going to fall off.
Well, despite our pretend war with the people we hang out with on a regular basis, the Tomberry Troop, I will say, listening to old episodes, which you are welcome to do at tccpodcast.com, we have had a prophetic voice throughout the history of our show, and have kind of come to some assumptions about things that were going to happen that have happened. So hopefully, perhaps Mino is on to another one of his visionary visions. Prophetic visions.
I will also point out that we've gotten things quote unquote late compared to Japan. So it's not out of the question that
this is true.
We get VIII next week or we get him in a month and a half.
Right, exactly.
A lot of people are saying they think they're going to delay VIII till Bosch's event. That's why they time travel bad characters early so people will pull on them. There's no way anyone's going to pull on VIII if he comes on Bosch's event.
It would be a very tempting banner with 2 fancy new EX pluses plus a rework there. Again, I'm just saying VIII might not entice many people now unless he's paired with someone like a Beatrix rework, which I don't think is actually coming anytime soon, but people want it, and I would not be opposed to it.
Have either of you, because I have not had time to do the co-op, have either of you done the co-op?
For the seasonal event? Yes, I have. It is fun.
Any difference
it is easy.
with, is it any different than the previous Trick or Treat co-op? Different enemies, different surprises?
Yes, it is very different. Mostly because of the things you fight. Now you fight a lot more undead, which means a lot of holy weaknesses, a lot of ghosts. Kefka's boss makes a return, but it's so weak that you can blow it up before it gets a chance to do its guaranteed HP attack. I've just been rolling with Gilgamesh and having a fun time.
Rolling with Greg.
They threw us for a loop. I think this might be the first event that's done it. I might be remembering wrong. But knowing that I've been burned in the past for spending all the tokens from part 1, this time I saved up tokens for part 1 to buy out the shop. And it's brand new tokens for
it's
part
not
2.
Kefka, it's Kefka's boss, so the skeleton wizard.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's all new tokens for part 2 now. So all that part 1 hoarding probably won't do it again moving forward.
I mean,
I guess you actually have to do the event.
From just looking at the expiration date on the co-op shop, it expires in 2 days.
Yeah, in a couple days. Yeah.
So I kind of guessed this was going to happen.
But there is a new shop with a whole bunch of different stuff, and if you get that Trick or Treat or that question mark, you get a whole bunch of stuff. Hey, Metapop Gaming, thank you for the raid with a party of groups of people. Thank you. I hope your stream went well. Check out Metapop Gaming. He's a streamer who streams this game as well, and all of our good friends. So, anything else about the Autumn Trick or Treat Festival 2 as we move on with our lives?
There is a lot of goodies to get in there. Just make sure you get them in the 2 weeks from now. There's a lot of interesting co-ops and actually enjoyable co-ops, in my opinion, to do at the moment, and will be in the future, especially next week. I think we've hyped, and a lot of people have hyped Sherlotta enough that if she actually arrives when she's supposed to arrive, that's going to be a very popular co-op for players to do.
Easy co-ops are always fun. I don't know how people ever complain about them, but showing off characters, being able to use whoever you want, and having an easy time farming the Edojas, because, man, are they driving people bonkers right now. In our Discord and on Reddit, people are saying another cursed character, tearing their hair out because they can't get perfect artifacts for all of them. But there's no reason to make Edoja farming more stressful than it already is, I believe. So this is nice to just press buttons and get through it.
I agree. I enjoy having some fun co-ops to do. I'm not opposed to difficult co-ops, but damage sponge co-ops like the raid battle was not fun.
I like the fun co-ops too. These are fairly easy, but it's fun to bring silly characters and have a good time. So yeah.
Macnol makes another point, which I was getting to the damage sponge thing. Quick. It doesn't matter. They can be threatening as long as they're also quick. If you're likely to get through them in a couple minutes, it's not as painful, even if you wipe, as it would be if it's a 15-minute fight like the raid co-op could easily be.
Easily. Oh, shout out to Redbeard, another fellow streamer who is a big fan of Lion and got Lion on both his regular account and on his alternate account with a shared video with Broadway Saiyan. So welcome and good to see you, Redbeard. And all those Lion
Raw
supporters.
Life, that comment was more to the raid Cosmos, just in general.
No. All right, well, moving on to host discussion. Let me someone change the outline. Before we get to host discussion and perhaps questions from you, I don't know because Mino took over the outline here. Let's look at our polls. You can go to our Discord, tccpodcast.com, join our Discord, and we do have a podcast section in our Discord with polls, and Quetz, who is the master of the Materia bot, has created this wonderful little thing for us every time there is a new character, although he's going to be changing that to a new banner, so you're just going to vote once per banner, and that gives us a sense of who's pulling on who and who's pulling for what. So for right now, we have it based on characters. Soon it's going to be based on banners, but for this week, Lion and Aphmau, Got one person willing to spend gems. Oh no, there's no one person because that's Materia Bot. One person willing to pity Lion. That was Mino. It wasn't Mino. Who was it?
Shyrol.
Shyrol. Okay, hey, so Shyrol, I hope you got Lion and hope you didn't have to pity. 11 willing to ticket and 34 passing. So sorry, Lion. On the other hand, with Aphmau, no one gemming, no one ticketing, 20 ticketing, or no one gemming, no one pitying, 20 ticketing, 27 or 26 passing whatsoever. Quetz did remove
you
the
can't
pity
pity
option.
Off because there's
I kept making jokes
EX.
about pity.
Why are you so drunk? Holy crap. Everyone in chat is saying this is the best podcast ever. You need to drink more. So clearly, Drunk Mark is much more entertaining than Drunk Mino.
I think this poll kind of reflects what we've heard around the grapevine. Lion is fun, but no one really wants to go for her. We've had a lot of hype banners in the past couple weeks. We're going to have a lot of hype banners going forward in the next month or so. So a lot of people are starting to conserve their resources at this point. And Aphmau tickets are disposable for most players, so people are willing to put some tickets towards Aphmau to get her 35 CP and have her added to the roster. But even if you don't, you can always weapon token her down the line.
I got her on the 13 ticket challenge. I got her on the 13 ticket, her 35. So that's why I had her, and that's why they made me do the evaluation. So there we go. So Mino, what the hell did you want to talk about?
Okay, first of all, this is not a laughing matter, Mark. Can you please be serious for the next 5 to 10 minutes? So we've gotten some feedback, and I think this is very valid feedback that let me paraphrase this really quick. Sometimes the TCC podcast can make comments that come off as elitist. Usually things like, if you don't know how to do this or that, or you can't do this or that, then learn how to play. Or saying that certain characters have such easy kits that, there's something wrong with you if you can't grasp it. And there also seems to be a camaraderie between content creators that is really presented as we, the content creators, are up here. Everyone else is a lowly peasant. In all honesty, I think all three of us hosts can think of times where we've come off like this. Right, Kreese? Do you have an example? I know you were talking about it in the Discord as well.
I commented that last week I kind of had an outburst where I complained about players not playing Aerith right in the co-op and it frustrating me, and basically calling them out for not knowing what to do correctly. I know that I might have come off a little harshly there, and that was not my intent.
Right, and Mark, you had an example as well, right?
I have never, ever done that. Go through all 74 episodes and hashtag me anytime that I did that. Yeah, I do, especially with co-op. I used to get so pissed off with the horribleness in co-op that, sometimes it comes off a little bit atrocious. But I always did say, to my credit, that I'm willing to host people and willing to jump on people to help them with co-op. I'm talking a year and a half ago now in the game, or a year and a couple months ago. But yes, sometimes it does come off very bad, and we certainly don't want to put down anybody, especially people who are new to the game or people who have been playing for a long time and aren't just very good at it. So, we all have our strengths. Yeah,
I really like Drunk Mark, by the way.
Macno says that's where Pierre would step in and keep us grounded to represent the plight of the casual players, because Pierre was the ultimate casual player, and he was French. And I miss that.
I don't. Okay, Mark, you need to drink some water. But I mean, and I also admit that definitely hit me. I say a lot of times, we content creators this and this, or even content creators this and this. And many times throughout DFFO's history, I've contacted Shara to take down posts that I don't like rival evals or starting tomorrow infographics from the Tonberry troop. But it's hard, it's easy to lose perspective. We're all day one players, us hosts, and I guess it's hard. We don't always tackle the game from a fresh player's perspective. It's easy to assume that many who have been listening have been playing as long as us or know as long as us. So it's a good reminder for me, Kreese, and especially Mark, to that we can't bash the lower class players on stream.
Why did you say especially Mark?
They are not
in the
lower
public
class
eye
players? Come on,
in the
Mito.
yeah, sorry, Kreese, we can't call them lower class players on stream where we're being recorded. Like, that's more for a private Discord channel.
No, it's not.
I mean, like, you know, like,
Mito, this is being elitist. Right now, what you're doing, you're calling other players lower class players. They are just players that have not invested as much time as you. They're more casual at the game than us.
Yes,
right.
I
we
like
can't say things like filthy casual on stream just to each other. I mean, in the I think in the I think in the outline right now,
oh Lord,
Kreese, I think you did you write this? It says Aphmau discussion, Lion rework plus EX discussion, and then in parentheses explain it so that bad players can understand.
I think you're making it up right now.
It does not say that until you edit that in right now. Please don't edit that in. I do share these outlines in our notes. So yes, make sure you don't add funny things in the outline, because I do share the outlines through the various means there. Yeah, no, but I do think, regardless, I play a variety of different mobile games and have, different games. We've just been playing King of Fighters. I'm not going to play that very seriously. I'm not going to be looking at tier lists. I'm not going to be, doing what I need to do to be the very best player. I'm going to make tons of mistakes, and that's okay. That's just how you play the game, and there's plenty of people, including myself, who have played this game and made all kinds of mistakes and spent way too many resources early on and all that kind of stuff. So, certainly not doing anything to look down on anybody else. And we apologize if that's ever the case. Sometimes we do say things that are terrible because that's what we do. And we apologize. It's not to make you feel bad about yourself. And we have invested a lot of time in this game. And so we like to think we know stuff, and we still make all kinds of terrible mistakes as it goes. And
let me tell you something. We've complained a lot about co-op players. No matter how you play, as long as you're taking your actions in a reasonable amount of time, we're not going to complain much.
That's true. That's true.
And to top it all off, as a reminder, all the evals written, all the content creation, everything we have to say, the podcast, the poll videos, what streamers make, it's all opinion. I don't think any one of us should be followed religiously. We're giving our take on things. It's not like objective fact. So at the end of the day, as long as we provide some insight and entertainment, that's all we're really asking, not really trying to enlighten the player base. And the three of us promise to try to be more humble in public and not say those kinds of things on the podcast. But, like pre-show, post-show, that's fair game.
And if you are going to follow someone religiously, follow the TCC Podcast, tccpodcast.com, for all of our social media links, and join our Discord. Thank you. Any other... We have some time. Why not? Any other questions?
I think this show's gone off the rails. Kreese, you're the only serious person here.
Any other questions from our
Can you help us here?
Podcast?
I'm going to save us by doing some silly question that Talut actually put in the questions channel earlier today. People always talk about why certain popular characters are still not in the game, but let's have fun with the reverse for once. Who are the characters that the hosts think have no reason to be in DFFOO? So this is not least favorites. Which characters do you think don't belong for logical or lore-wise reasons? Mark, do you want to go first?
That is an excellent question, and I'm going to be looking at my list of characters. So who doesn't belong in Defo? I think you could.
I already picked some, so if you want me to go first, I can.
Go ahead while I look and see who doesn't belong.
Raijin and Fujin. I had no clue why they came as fast as they did when, main FF main characters were still missing from the roster.
So I like that with that chapter, you got Cypher, Raijin, and Fujin. Of course, I'm a big Final Fantasy VIII fan. So you got the disciplinary committee all right there. But yeah, they've never been very good. Cypher's okay. And they're all getting their reworks and stuff right now in Japan. But yeah, they did seem kind of out of place. Like his characters, they're fine in the game, but yeah. Yeah. I very
It just
personally
felt weird for the whole disciplinary committee to come before all of the Final Fantasy VIII main roster was in the game. That was crazy to me.
I'm not a huge fan of World of Final Fantasy, and although I do use the twins regularly in farming and have used them, I do think they're a little bit out of place in the game, even as kind of lighthearted and silly as the game is. So that would probably be my pick. I'm not really offended by anybody else, except for the large number of Type 0 characters, Type O characters that we seem to get. I'm not even sure why, but I know people do love that game, so there you go. So, Mino, did you have any?
Okay, I'm going to entertain this, even though Mino says we shouldn't.
Well, let me give my take on the last question then. If you insist on doing that, Kreese, I thought you were the most sober one here. But as for characters that we don't want in the game, guys, those are the elitist responses that we have been criticized for. Everybody belongs in the game, as there are fans for every character, even Raijin and Fujin, and everyone has equal value and should all be celebrated and respected. But go ahead, Kreese.
Wait, this was a Tonberry Troop trap? This was a setup. This was an inside.
This is a setup. They're trying to get us to be toxic on stream. Like, guys, hashtag down with Tonberry Troop.
Wow, we love the Tonberry Troop so much.
Okay, I'm going to switch to another amusing question before we take this one.
Hey,
now,
Chris is
Junior
raiding
Dallas
with a party.
asks, in the last podcast, Mino said that Realm was his type. Do you think it's time to call the police?
Yeah, please call
That's
the police.
Very inappropriate question, J.R. Dallas.
I
think I clarified that it was my type of kit or gameplay in the game, and I got nothing else. Back to you, Kreese.
I think it's time we call the police.
Yeah.
What is this episode? This is what we get for having free time. Like, DFFOO needs to not give us slow weeks, because this is what happens.
More free time.
This isn't good for anybody. This isn't good for our image. It's not good for the listeners. It's not good for the people who download the podcast and have to listen to this at work. It's just a disaster all around.
Okay, I promise I'll take a more serious question.
Everybody
and this is a
seems
question
to be having
we've dealt with before.
Yes.
But since it keeps coming up, we'll address it again. Parsnippins has asked, how do you feel about the impact Foresight has had on the game? Do you appreciate it, or does it make you feel like the game is less enjoyable? Mino, Mark, do you want to take it first? Which one of you?
Yeah, I think having some foresight is helpful. I like to plan ahead. I mean, it's good for our resources. It's not removed. So if I look back at the limited, so we had foresight from day one, but I wasn't as invested in the foresight as I am now, and I'm not super invested now. But I kind of know what's coming soon. I'm not as invested of what's coming out right now. Like, I know Kistis rework just came out, so I kind of know what that looks like. I've read it and all that kind of stuff, but I'm not keeping up day to day with that kind of stuff. Early on, I kind of knew, like, oh, these were the characters that were popular in Japan, and these got their reworks. But, you know, I that kind of hurt. That limited knowledge of the foresight that I had early on in the game did not help me. Because I didn't have a full understanding of what that actually meant and what the game was like, 10 months after we started. So now I think I have a better sense of, okay, what's going to happen and that's going to look like. So the foresight's actually fairly helpful, in my opinion, and certainly doesn't distract me from the game. It actually kind of helps me think about, okay, what am I going to do and how am I going to approach it? And gives me a little bit more time to not like lose my mind or spend resources recklessly. I kind of have a sense of where I'm going and what I'm going to do. So, yeah.
I guess
foresight.
no episode is complete unless I play devil's advocate.
Yes.
Actually, this isn't even
part
really
of our
devil's
drinking
advocate,
game.
but basically, there's a lot of people who say that foresight is a curse as to how we play because we're worried about hoarding and doing all this and this. Oh, I wish I could just enjoy the game impulsively. I think that's ridiculous because that's like saying ignorance is bliss, which I guess a lot of people do believe, but it's kind of like if you have an advantage, why wouldn't you use it? If you had the power to see ahead, or like it's like getting a syllabus for a class. If you have the ability to plan ahead and that's been proven to boost your success, why would you not take advantage of it? I mean, if you really wanted to enjoy the game, you always have the option to shut everything out and have the willpower not to check and just play impulsively. But as I've always said, extra is always good. You don't have to utilize it. You don't have to listen to the hype. You can still pull whoever you want. I mean, I was ready to pity Realm and Lion for God's sake. There, I pitied Kane and Jacked, and they're terrible. And I'm prepared to pity Sabin again. Every JP player I know says don't pity Sabin. He's one of the worst EX pluses. Like I've never done any Cosmos with him outside of his own
You mean
event.
Chaos?
Yeah, that's what I said. Chaos.
You said
And
Cosmos.
I said chaos. And like I don't give a shit. I'm doing but I mean like because of that foresight, I think we were talking in Discord, Rich Get Richer. If you pull metas, it lets you breeze through more content without pulling characters, meaning you save more gems, meaning you have more gems to pull for favorites. That's the stance that I've always taken. That's been true for my DFFOO career. And I think there is zero downside to foresight. Foresight can only be a good thing because I know that if Square Enix had their way, they would try to eliminate foresight. That was I'm gonna assume that was the reason they wanted to speed up in the beginning of the game. They tried to speed us up really fast to try. Like remember, they said that originally their plan was to catch up to JP because foresight kind of prevents people from spending impulsively, which is what Gacha wants you to do. But I think they gave up on that and they thought it was easier. Their current plan instead is to line up GL releases with JP reworks. So many times where we'd have a character about to come out in GL and in JP they just get their EX plus or their big rework to kind of tempt dummies. Square Enix knows what they're doing to tempt people to pull for 10 months in the future. So it's kind of like, oh, hey, this character is coming out. I'm trying to think of an example off the top of my head. I can't. But like some character that we're not excited about. Oh, Zack. Zack's coming out. Everyone knows Zack isn't really needed for Cosmos. That's probably an easy hard skip. And then right before he comes out in GL and JP, he gets his EX plus and his rework, and he's amazing. And I know more than one person that I've talked to pulled for Zack because they saw how amazing he became in the future. So they're like, oh, I actually want that now when they would have skipped otherwise. I think that's JP's new plan, easier than catching up. But I wouldn't be surprised if them speeding up the schedule now is a more of an attempt to fight foresight, because the first character we've got that doesn't fall in that pattern is Realm. Realm doesn't have her EX plus yet. Data miners say she is on track to get it next month. So we would have seen that preview when Realm was out if we were following schedule. But if you've noticed, last month and this month, the last 2 months, they've sped up the schedule so conveniently Realm falls outside of that. Where are we going to get to see her preview before we pull? Because I think they wised up to say, oh, if the EX plus sucks, I'm probably not going to pull this character. So it seems like they're constantly trying to fight foresight and the advantage that it gives us.
That is an interesting
I
take.
agree. I'll give you my feedback on foresight. I didn't use foresight for the first 10 months, 8 months I was playing the game, so for a lot of last year, I didn't use it until right at the end of the 35 CP era when we started to go into high speed acceleration right before the level 60 awakening era. I did not look at foresight. I didn't know who was coming. I didn't really care, except to see that maybe a certain character was coming and maybe I want to save some gems to pull for them specifically, not knowing anything about them. Once EX hit and fights got harder, I started paying more attention to who was actually strong in the context of I have favorites, I want to pull for them, but I also want to make sure I can clear as much content as possible. So let me make sure I have a safety buffer pulling for certain characters to fill in those pockets and make sure I can still complete content when my favorites will fail. So I want to say that for me, Foresight has helped in me making sure I set aside resources, knowing that there's some strong character coming that I might not have pulled for without knowledge of that ahead of time, while also knowing, hey, there's a character I want just because they're a favorite. For example, I missed Lightning ZX the first time. I went crazy for her when she was reworked for the Abyss Part 2 wave that we got, and I pulled hard for her at that time, even though you could have easily skipped her. So I'm all for using the foresight to plan for favorites and for characters that can help you do better in the game going forward. And knowing which characters actually do succeed gives you a little bit of wiggle room in making sure you can get complete stuff without worrying that you're going to screw yourself over in the future.
I agree. Any other questions we want to tackle tonight, Kreese?
One last silly question, because I have to, and let me just give me a second. I got to find it. Ah, damn it, I lost it.
Hooray!
Oh, wait, I remember what it was. Sorry, I don't remember exactly what it is, Metapop Gaming, but the basic gist of the question that he asked in chat was, oh, here it is, thanks. Do you guys think that if we as a community made Kefka cosplays and sent Kefka lewds to Josh, do you think we would get more gems from him? My answer is no. If you send Kefka lewds to Josh, he will probably resend those 3,000 gems he has to give us. So please don't do that. I don't think he would appreciate it.
Send Kefka pics to Joshua or Glacy or Rachel or any of the other wonderful people on Square Enix. Or your
Kefka
friends.
cosplay is okay, but not Kefka lewds. Please don't Kefka lewds.
Yeah, I think you could share a good Kefka cosplay on the Reddit. Shara loves cosplays, so big fan of the cosplay. So yeah, you can share, and we know memes do really well, and pictures do really well on Reddit. So if you're looking for some upvotes, I think a good Kefka cosplay is going to get you some upvotes. Or you can share it on our Discord. I don't know what appropriate channel that would be under. Some channel.
Probably Mitos Debauchery.
Yeah, well, if they're lewd, yeah, definitely. But if they're not lewd, and I'm not sure, what the difference is. Yeah, so yeah, that would be good. There you go. Don't send.
And I think we'll call it good.
Yeah, let's end it before we embarrass. Mark's barely intelligible anymore. I'm getting kind of drunk too after this long sobriety.
I don't think that's true at all. So looking ahead, thank you all for joining us. Looking ahead, we potentially have...
Sorry, before we talk about looking ahead, note that the only thing official on this looking ahead schedule is Leon's Lost Chapter.
Yes.
I have a couple things penciled in here, but they are not official yet.
So Leon's Lost Chapter will be Sunday night, or is that Monday night?
Monday night.
Monday night. We do believe there will be a community stream Monday because it usually is the last Monday of the month. And we are projecting the Sherlotta event to be at the end of the month on Halloween, which will be our time as well to podcast. So we will see you then. Thank you all for joining us. I remind you that you can connect with us through a variety of different ways. Go to tccpodcast.com. That is our website, www.tccpodcast.com. All of the episodes of this season of the Crystal Chronicles, which is all about Defo, are on our website. So all 74 will be on there tomorrow. You can go 73 right now and binge them overnight, but I will upload everything tomorrow. So you can download them, you can stream them. They are available on your favorite podcast app. Hey, if you are on Apple and you do have an Apple device, go on the podcast app, give us a review and a comment, and that does help us, and we are rated in the Apple Store and Apple Podcasts, so we do thank you for that. Again, we are on Twitch, and we record live on Twitch every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 1 a.m. Friday UTC time. Please, it does help us when you subscribe via Twitch Prime or otherwise, when you cheer and send bits our way. That does help offset some of the cost of doing this, but we do thank you all for however you support us. And just being here live helps a lot. It makes it a lot of fun. Come join our Discord, be part of that. If you don't want to join Discord and ask us questions, because we did do some of those questions tonight, and there are several of you who have asked questions about Ignits and books and EX Plus weapons. We will get to that. We have not neglected you, but we're waiting till a little bit closer and the official announcement of EX Plus weapons. So, but if you don't want to come on Discord and you're more comfortable with Twitter, Facebook, we do have those. If you want to leave us a comment on Twitch, you can actually message us on Twitch, or you can leave us a comment on YouTube. But the best way to get a hold of us is to join our Discord and come and talk to us. In our show notes and in our links, check out the Tonberry Troops infographic. We have Inkwelder's Flickr album with all of the infographics. They're great resources. And Macnol's Call to Arm. Make sure you do hang out on the official Reddit, and that's a great opportunity to learn some more things and have some fun things sharing as well. I do remind you, Cher is going to be doing the extra live stream with all of the other FF Reddits, so that's going to be on November 4th. So put that on your calendar and go support Shara and our community as we do support that great outreach and that great charity event. So I believe that's it for this episode 74 of the Crystal Chronicles, recorded on this October 24th, 2019. I am your host, Mark, and I have been joined by Minos Spellgood and Kreese, aka Zerink, and a cadre of wonderful people on Twitch and on the internet. And thank you for the raids as well. So for myself and for everyone else who's part of the TCC crew, we wish you the best in your pulls. Good luck and goodbye.